Hello students, and this is our first lesson, this is our first lection, and when we are talking about present tenses, we need to start with the first tense, present simple. So, present simple. When we talk about present tenses, about the structure of present tenses, this is every time first how to build, how to form the sentences in this tense. For example, right now we are going to talk about present simple. First, how to build sentences, and second, how to use, when to use this tense, when to use present simple, and how to build sentences. Present simple tense in general indicates an action which happens in the present. Yeah, this is our present life, this is our daily routine, our habits, but it is not necessary for actions to happen right now, because for actions happening right now we use present continuous, and this is our second present tense. So actions that happens in the present in general. Next, we are going to talk about different uses. When do we need to use like actions that happens every day? This is our daily routine actions, yes? And this is our present tense when we are talking about our habits. So here in each lection we are going to have a lot of examples, because when you know a rule you need to see an example, practical example of the practical situation, and after that you can also show your examples for each structure, for each use. Here right now, as you can see, you have a lot of time to make your notes. So use this free time when I speak, when our lesson is going and you see materials, you have a lot of time to make your notes. Present simple tense indicates what? Unchanging situations, the first. General truth, this is about facts. The general facts and scientific facts, it's the same. For example, they just use specific term for scientific facts. It can be habits, facts, historical facts. What else it can be? Natural facts, for example, about our nature, environment, weather facts. This is also about facts. So general truth or general facts, this is about facts that we can't change. It's normal for us. Habits in general, and fixed arrangement and frequently occurring events. Fixed arrangements when we talk about schedule. Our schedule, for example, I have lesson at 6 p.m. This is my schedule. This is everyday lesson at 6 p.m. or this is a lesson that can be a few times per week or even once per week. Every time you need to make notes. When we talk about grammar, you need to make notes. You can pause the video and also write your notes. Grammar part with examples that you need to know if you want to start and speak faster. First, we talk about grammar rules. Second, we see and watch a lot of practical examples. We read them, we create our own sentences, and after that you speak. And you use these structures. When you speak, you use the structure of the sentence. As you can see, this is our system, this is our plan for this course, for each lection. I want you to be engaged here, pay a lot of attention, be concentrate, practice your concentration also, and speak. So, first, present simple tense uses. Right now we are talking about structure. We have three different sentences, three types of sentences and structures. Positive, the first, negative, the second, and third, this is questions. Right now the positive sentences, the first structure of the sentence is positive forms. Subject, first position, this is subject. As you can see, we have I, you, we, they, orange color. I, you, we, they, first group, subject. Second, we, one. This is verb, infinitive form, the first form of the verb. Write, read, jump, stop, help. This is our infinitive form of the verb. First form of the verb. In some books, in some grammar books, it can be infinitive form of the verb. In some books, they show the first form of the verb. This is the same. Second group, subject, he, she, it. The third person singular plus verb, first form of the verb, and verb plus s, es, or ies. So, in the case when we have subject he, she, it, we need to put the verb infinitive form and change the ending of this verb. When to add s, when to add es, when to add ies to the verb? This is the question. We have grammar rules, general rules. For the most part of the verbs, we need to add just s. For the some verbs, we need to add es. A little bit later, we will see these rules. Second, negative forms. First position subject, I, you, we, they. This is our first group of subjects. Second position, do not or don't. The short form, don't. Do not, this is our auxiliary verb. Plus we, one, the first form of the verb, infinitive form of the verb. Second subject, he, she, it, plus does not or doesn't, the short form. V1, first form of the verb. So this is the structure of your sentences. Of course, it will be a lot of examples. I do not read a book. He does not read a book. As you can see, sentences equal the structure of the tense. If I want to build positive sentences, if I want to build negative sentences, I need to use grammar structure for it. Write the structure, create a table maybe. It will be easy to use and understand. For you, questions. As you can see, in questions, we have our auxiliary verb do. For subjects, are, you, we, they, and do we need to put before the subject. Before are, you, we, they. After that, we need to put our main verb of the action in the first form. Do I read? Do you read? Does. Does he read? When we use subject he, she, it, we use auxiliary verb does. In questions, we need to put auxiliary verb before subject. After the subject, we have our main verb V1 in the first form, infinitive form of the verb. So, if you want to speak in English, you need to know the structure of the sentences. Structure of the sentence, this is English tenses, and when you know the structure, you know uses of this structure of this tense, and you can speak. Short answer forms for positive and negative sentences. So, of course, you can answer just yes, no, but in a right way, you can use short structure, or you can maybe hear when people use them. So, do you read a book? Do you read books in general? Yes, this is our repeated actions. Yes, I do. If this is a positive answer, green. part, as you can see, yes, I do. Yes, subject, auxiliary verb, do. No, I do not. No, subject, do not. Auxiliary verb plus not. Does she read books in general? Yes, she does. Yes, she does not. You just need to follow the structure. Yes, subject, are you with a auxiliary verb, do. Point. No, subject, auxiliary verb, do plus not. Not, this is a negative word. This is not an auxiliary verb. Auxiliary verb, this is do or does. Not, this is just a negative word. In present simple, we need to separate our subject to two groups. Are you with a, he, she, it. Because we need to use, for positive sentences, rules of verbs endings. And for negative sentences and for questions, we need to use auxiliary verb. When we need to put s or es or ies to the end of the verb, we will have the table for these rules, and also we will understand why we have auxiliary verb does. One more time. Right now we see examples of the structure, but without part of the speech, just words. And all the structures, this is for you for practice. If you want to speak, you need to use examples of the structures. So this is our table. We have here positive sentences, we have here negative sentences and questions. I start, I do not start, or I don't start. Do I start? You start, you do not start. Do you start? The question. He starts, she starts, it starts. As you can see, subjects, he, she, it. At the end of the verb in infinitive form, we need to put the ending s. Start, this is just general verb, and for general verbs, we need to put s. So, before our lesson with a table of endings, for verbs which endings ss, ch, double s, as I said before, double s, ch, sh, o, x, we need to put es. So go, goes, do, does. And where? This is where we have our auxiliary verb does. I do homework, she does homework. I do not do my homework, she does not do her homework. So auxiliary verb do ending o plus es. Write this table. You can pause the video, you can read the sentences, follow the structure, and create your own sentences. All rules, as I mentioned, you need to write. You need to make some notes. Use your notebook, use your laptop, make some notes. It's easy to watch the video lesson one more time. And first lessons which include grammar rules, you need to repeat these rules with structures a lot of times. This is a goal here. Repeat the structure, and after that you can practice this structure for speaking. So, attention, what do we have here? First, in the present simple tense, we add the suffix s at the end of the verbs for the third singular subject, he, she, it. This is what we discussed before. This is a note for you. On the other hand, we use first forms of the verbs for other subjects. I, you, we, they. You, as you can see, I, you, we, you, they. You singular, you plural. This is the main idea. When we use he, she, it, we need to add suffix s or es at the end of the verb. That's what you need to remember. I read a book, I write a letter, she reads a book, he writes a letter. Verbs that ending with double s, es, double s, ch, sh, we need to add es at the end of this verb. Second rule, attention, although we add the suffix s at the end of the verb for the third singular subjects in positive sentences, we remove the suffix s at the end of the verb in questions and negative sentences because of being used does or doesn't as an auxiliary verb. So, one more time. In positive sentences, in the present simple, we need to add the suffix s at the end of the verb. She reads, he writes. But in negative sentences, we don't have the suffix s at the end of the verb. As you can see in the previous table, we had examples. He starts, he does not start. He starts, he does not start. So when we have does not, when we have negative structure, we don't need to add s at the end of the main verb, because our ending s we need to add to our auxiliary verb do. Do ends in o plus es. This is a tricky rule here. This is a tricky rule for each student. This is just the first lection. Don't be worried about this. I'm talking here. I'm trying to show you rules, examples, tables, but this is just our first lection. We will repeat. I don't want from you that you sit and memorize everything in one lesson. No. We need just repeat. We need to have a lot of practice, a lot of examples, sentences, and speak and practice. This is the way how can you memorize all these structures here and see them. Let's go forward. Write this note. Sometimes I will make some pause and you will have the time to make some notes. And let's write examples. This is our time for examples. Before it was the structure of the sentences, and right now it will be our examples. Here we will see how we need to use our present simple tense in practical way. One more time for you, the structure, positive sentences, subject, I, you, we, they, or he, she, it, plus V1, the main verb in infinitive form, plus ending s, es, ies. Examples. My mother lets me go out with my friends. I prefer my black coffee, so my mother, she lets, verb plus s. I prefer, subject I, we don't need to put anything to the verb. She puts, put plus s because subject she puts the keys on the table. The teacher, he or she, shouts, verb plus s, at us all the time. I have two brothers. I have, subject I, verb infinitive form. Coffee grows in Brazil. Coffee, it grows, grow plus s, where in Brazil. So we have the structure, we have the sentence. If you need to write all the sentences, you can pause the video. First of all, you need to pay your attention first, the start of the sentence, the subject, which subject in this sentence. Are you with a, he, she, it. After that, the main verb of the action, infinitive form, if are you with a, verb without s. If he, she, it, verb plus s. This is the main idea. Negative sentences, one more time, the structure, subject plus do, auxiliary verb, or does, plus not, plus verb of the action in infinitive form. Do, are you with a, does, he, she, it. My mother, she, does not let me go out with my friends. So, as you can see, that were I talking about. So, my mother does not let without s, because we have auxiliary verb does. We don't need to put any s, es at the end of the main verb of the action. Let without s, because you have auxiliary verb does. I do not prefer. If I want to make a negative sentence, I need to use do plus not. She does not put without s, because you have does. Does. The verb do, auxiliary verb do, ends in o. When the verb ends in o, you need to put es at the end of this verb. That's why we have does. So, the ending from the main verb, we need to relocate to auxiliary verb. The teacher does not shout. I do not have. Coffee does not grow. Write these examples and practice. Create your own sentences. Subject, verb. Subject, auxiliary verb plus not plus verb. For different subjects, different auxiliary verbs. Questions. Do, does, the first position plus subject plus verb infinitive form. Examples. Does your mother let you go out with your friends? Do you prefer your black coffee? Does she put the keys on the table? Does the teacher shout at us all the time? Do I have two brothers? Does coffee grow in Brazil? Do, does, first position. After that, subject. Do, are you with a? Does he, she, it? After that, the main verb of the verb. Also, in questions, you don't need to put s at the end of the verb when you use subjects he, she, it, because you have auxiliary verb does. Does already have ending es. It was do, are you with a, for are you with a. For he, she, it, we created does. This is do plus es. The tricky rule, the tricky system here. Yes. So, as you can see, the main lesson, it's the important lesson for all my students. I always show the present simple, and we spent a lot of time for present simple tense, because this is the important structures, the important rules for your general conversation, for daily conversations that you can speak already. If you know present simple, you can speak, you can already speak. You just need to have the basic vocabulary, know basic words, and put them in your sentences. That's all. That's why we will spend a lot of attention for present simple. A lot of examples. From these examples, you need to gain new words, new vocabulary. For beginners, for elementary level, for A1, A2, this is the time for you to gain a vocabulary. For B1, B2, they can skip the vocabulary, they can just repeat rules with the structure and go for speaking. But repeat words also great. So, notes. We have question words, and we use other questions words, for example, who, what, why, how much, how many, how often, etc. in present simple tense. For each tense we will have question words. For each tense we will have time markers. This is another topic, but question words. When we talk about question structure, we need to put question words before do or does, before auxiliary verb. What do you read? Who do they visit? So, question words before the auxiliary verb do or does in the present simple tense. Notes. Make your notes. So, one more time. Question words: when, where, who, what, why, how much, how many, how often, plus do or does, auxiliary verb, plus subject, he, she, it, are, you, we, they. Yes, subject, we also can name the pronoun. Different grammar books, different names of the part of the speech. Subject or pronoun. He, she, it, are, you, we, they. Or subject pronoun, yeah. Plus verb, infinitive form, first form of the verb. This is the structure of your questions with question words. How often does he call you? Why do you always do this? Always. Time marker. Often also time marker. How? This is our auxiliary, question word. How question word. Often. When we use it for positive sentences, this is time marker. Does, auxiliary verb. He, subject or pronoun. Call, main verb of the action, infinitive form. Why, question word. Do, auxiliary verb. You, subject. Always, time marker. Do, the main verb of the action, infinitive form. How much does it cost? How much, question word. Does, auxiliary verb. It, subject. Cost, main verb, infinitive form, main verb of the action. The structure, as you can see. Also use different colors for your notes. If you use your laptop, use some markers. Mark different colors. You need to understand part of the speech for the structure. Why can't you speak English? Because you don't understand the structure of the sentence. You need to know where to put each word, what this is the word, what is it? The part of the speech. Subject, verb, noun, question word, auxiliary verb, what does it mean? Second, question words. When, where, who, what, why, how much, how many, how often, etc. Plus verb, infinitive form, yeah, the first form of the verb, plus s, the ending. Object pronouns, me, you, him, her, it, us, them. Object pronouns, this is me, you, him, her, it, us, them. And when you use object pronouns, you don't need to use auxiliary verb. Who gives him a scholarship? Who, question word, gives the main verb of the action. Give plus s. Because object pronoun, him, he. Subject, he. Object pronoun, him. That's why you need to put s at the end of the verb. What makes you angry? What, question word, makes, verb plus s, you, subject, or object pronoun, the same form, angry. So when you use object pronoun, one more time, me, you, him, her, it, us, them, you don't need to use auxiliary verb do or does. As you can see, the different part of the speech, different structure, yeah? When you use just subject, you need to use auxiliary verb, subject, are, you, is, a, he, she, it. When you use object pronouns, you don't need to use auxiliary verb. It was our first lection. It was a lot of information here. My advice for you right now, watch the first lection one more time. Check your notes. Check the explanation. Write your questions. Write your questions and ask me your questions. Thank you for the lesson. See you at the next time. Bye bye, students.